Some they call it functional alcoholism, but if you know anything about Ben, he's got vision with precision, microphones and a tinkle of derision. You're about to hear what beer can be. It's time for Barley and Me.
Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. We're here today in Sacramento, California at New Helvetia Brewing. With me today is the owner of New Helvetia, Dave Gull.
The current owner of New Helvetia.
We'll get to it, Dave. Don't jump ahead of this. You probably noticed I didn't say what episode it was because I forgot to check, and it'll be there in the show notes.
That's what editing's for, right?
And my voice sounds like this because I'm trying a new radio voice, and also I am very raspy.
It's a little bit of Will Forte.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, it's weird. We're going to jump right. I had a friend sent me a text. She's like, hey, do you have a secret cooking YouTube? I'm like, no. She's like, there's this guy on YouTube who never shows his face, and he sounds like a mix of you and Will Forte, and it's great. I'm like, so if you're doing it, you're doing great work. I'm like, it's not me.
Well, what are you cooking on your secret cooking show? That's not you.
I think I saw a tater tot casserole because it was like a holiday thing.
Okay.
But yeah, we sounded very, very similar.
Can you tell the difference? Can you tell what your
yes.
voice sounds like
I think
compared
so.
to others?
I think so because I do the podcast, right? So I have to hear it, and I do the comedy. I have to hear it. And one time I had when I was doing music writing, there's another guy on the staff, and he was working in Arizona. And we call each other to discuss something that we're working on. And we're like, we have the same voice.
Wait a minute. Have we completely skipped over the fact that you used to be a music writer?
Yeah, I skip over it all the time.
I think there's a story there.
Not really.
Oh, I want to hear a little bit of it.
It was the early 2000s, you know? Webzines were very popular. I got access to a record early because I knew the band. One of the editors was looking for it. I had made a post about it on a music message board. And he's like, hey, can you send me that? And I was like, got to talking. I'm like, here's some of my, because I've been trying to get into the industry a little bit. I'd written like a few reviews and interviews and stuff. And he's like, this is great. You want to just write for us? And
Wrote yourself into a job.
Yeah, by having a physical CD early.
Nice way to do it.
Yeah. It was a Sacramento band, Quitter. You may remember Quitter. Sender, Receiver. Great album. Still great.
I'd like to say I remember
Dude,
that.
it's so good. It's so good.
Do you have a theme song yet for the pod?
Yeah, we have it from Be Bold, Brave Robot.
Oh, yeah, you can't. I mean, they're I know them.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dean is amazing.
Yeah, I had Dean on. He showed up to the podcast like, I wrote you a theme song. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he hadn't even been on it yet. He showed up to it like, I have a theme song for you.
We had Dean come out and do a set here, and he did some of his robot songs and some of his
Solo
just
stuff.
other stuff. Yeah. And there were like 3 people in the courtyard. I was one of them. And he let me do one of his songs with him, and it was amazing.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds very much like him. Very bohemian. Like, the band's what it is today. Whoever's on stage is the band. That's fine.
I think it's one of the best songs to come out of Sacramento that nobody knows about, and it's called Recipe. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the Be Brave Bold Robot songs. It's on YouTube. It's just a beautifully composed piece of music.
Yeah.
And he let me do the second stanza of that song in front of, well, since I was now up on behind the mic, in front of 2 audience members.
Oh, hell yeah.
In the courtyard at New Helvetia.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, he'll play anywhere with anybody. And I think his whole group will. They'll all be like, what?
Yeah.
Do you have an instrument? I have an instrument. If you don't, we can clap. We can play on our legs. We can just sing. Like, it's fine.
Bang on this shovel in this trash can.
Yeah, whatever's around. If you want to get down, we'll get down. But yeah, I did that for a few years until there was a big falling out. There was a divide at the webzine because I had joined when it was like a underground punk thing, which was not what I listened to, and it wasn't what my editor really listened to. But he knew the guy, and they started. So basically, the guy's like, "Hey, I think we're getting too far away from punk," and he let it go of anybody who wasn't writing about punk music. And we had a guy on staff who was like the guy in the world for post rock stuff. Like he like knew every post-rock band. They all knew him. Like he was like really into it. So like that was where a lot of our traffic was coming from. Was people who like wanted to find out about that stuff. Do you know post-rock stuff like Explosions in the Sky and?
No.
Okay, it's instrumental.
I'm suddenly discovering how way cooler you are than anybody had any idea about.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. But so that he was like the guy in the world for that, and it was where all our traffic came. And the guy's like, and the owner's like mad about it and fired everybody
Because it was working.
because it was working.
But it wasn't the vibe he wanted.
Yeah, he's like, I wanted to do punk, and he also he fired us after he had deleted all of our email addresses, so we couldn't bring any contacts with us. He deleted all of our content, so we couldn't pull anything to give to other people, showing that we'd done work. Like real bullshit.
Yeah, classic dick move. What was the name of the scene?
It was decoymusic.com. Yeah.
And where is it now?
It's gone.
Dead and gone.
Dead and gone.
Yeah, could have been something.
Yeah. He'd also hired a third editor that couldn't even write. I had to do a weekly article where we did like things that aren't current, but like we're listening to and really enjoying, and we would do a little write-up, and I would spend like 2 hours on like a 3-paragraph write-up. I'm like, this is incomprehensible and so poorly worded and so... How is this guy an editor? He can't even put in punctuation properly. I was so mad. I would refuse to put up his posts.
Although nowadays, what's punctuation?
No, this was a nightmare. But great time. Got a lot of, made some friends, got some connections.
And was it all based here in the Sacramento area, or was this down in LA?
This was all over. The guy that owned it was in Atascadero. The guy I reported to is in North Carolina. Yeah, I had guys in Minnesota, Texas.
Okay.
A guy in Baltimore who hated me, and the feeling was mutual. It was great.
Good times.
Yeah,
good memories.
It turns out music
Decoy
snobs
music.
are all dicks. But yeah, it was really cool because I got to like kind of hone my interview skills from that. I got to interview.
This is right around the time High Fidelity came out, isn't it?
High Fidelity is like 97, so it's like 5 or 6 years later.
Okay.
But I got to interview Trace Bruins from Mr. Bungle and Faith No More. And I thought it would be like a 20-minute conversation. It ended up being 3.5 hours. We had a great time. Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. I got to sit down on their bus. That was fun. There's somebody else.
Your coolness vibe is just way outshining mine.
Yeah. So I had this job where I had to do like phone calls. And like, I don't think you're going to be good on the phone because I was like a mail clerk. And like, I don't think you'll be good on the phone. I'm like, I've interviewed like my favorite musicians of all time with no problem. I think I can handle a fucking stranger.
I mean, you weren't phone banking famous musicians.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that job genuinely sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, anyways, kind of like the podcast. We just kind of would go wherever, Damn it, I'm trying to remember who else the point is, I used to have some very cool numbers.
Nice.
And then I didn't have a cell phone. And I always had to borrow a friend's because I was like, I'm never going to get one. And I'm like, oh, I need it for this phone call. Oh, it was Greg Edwards from Failure and Autolux, who doesn't give interviews. He's notoriously shy.
Did you get one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was pretty dope.
That is pretty dope.
Yeah.
Damn.
Let's see.
I met the actor who played Larry from Three's Company once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
That I was like 10 years old, walking through Union Square, San Francisco area?
Yeah.
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 I recognized him.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to meet Giovanni Ribisi at that Autolux show.
I remember him.
Because he was, they said friends of the band. I'm pretty sure he was dating the drummer at the time. I think they're still together. But whatever. I was like, hey, is that Giovanni Ribisi? Yeah, that's all right, cool. But yeah, tons of stuff. I've done so many things, Dave.
That's cool stuff. I didn't know.
But that's the past. That's all the past.
Well, you're doing cool stuff now, too.
Always doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Like hosting a comedy show at Fort Rock, followed by a nightcap at New Helvetia.
Yeah.
2 in a row. 2 free comedy shows in a row a week ago.
Yeah.
And
my voice still is not recovered.
Okay. Can we recap that a little bit?
You can do whatever you want to do, Dave.
I had a blast.
Dude, I know.
I had a blast.
It was a wild lineup. That was a wild show.
It was fun to see how the comics responded to the room setup because it's L-shaped and they were in the elbow of the L, facing basically 2 different directions. Mm-hmm. So they almost had 2 audiences at the same time,
and they were distinctly different.
And then they could play them off of each other.
Yeah, because they were distinctly different energies.
And I was on the boring side of the
Yeah,
audience.
the bigger side.
Well, the side that nobody would walk to because it was sort of blocked off by the comics. So everybody gathered in the easier side to get into, which was the loud, rambunctious, fun side.
Yeah.
That included the heckler.
Yeah, who was also an employee. But hey, not the first time, won't be the last. That's fine.
But yeah, I had a blast. It was the biggest comedy show I think we've ever had here.
Nice.
And we were able to do it indoors, which we usually kick everything out into the outdoor courtyard area where we tend to host most of our live performance style events.
But a 9:30 show on a Friday in the winter isn't really conducive to an outdoor.
In a place that's not known for hosting comedy shows.
Yeah, and also is right next door to a residential area.
Yeah. And also right next door to a comedy club.
Oh, yeah, also.
In the way, yeah.
Yeah, and that was tricky because when I booked people, I was like, I saw who they had. I'm like, let's see if I can just bring somebody who's finishing up a show. And so I messaged. I was like, oh, this is great. I don't know if I'll just invite all of them. They all agreed. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. And then I'm like, do not promote this show because it's free. That one's paid. They're always struggling.
Yeah. Respect the neighbors. Respect the craft. Take care of the
and then
people.
one person did. I'm like, you need to take that down. You need to take that. No. There's no need to promote that.
We don't need it.
Don't need it.
Don't need it.
I do not need anybody. You don't need to be a bringer for this. It's a free show. It's an anniversary party. It's gonna be. People are gonna be there. I don't need you to promote it individually. It's a secret lineup.
That's noble.
Yeah. I'm like, I'd rather they get anybody who knows the show's happening to get their like $10 because it's one person running a comedy club on Broadway.
You respect the craft and those who present the craft to the public.
Yeah, and I got a message. I booked the booker for that particular show, and he messaged me. He's like, "Thank you so much for booking me. The money you paid me allowed me to break even on that show, so we didn't lose any money." I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
All right,
there we go.
It worked out.
Yeah, yeah. And then one of the acts came over, and she was like, "I don't want to go up anymore." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "I just had a really bad set over there." I'm like, "Okay, well, this isn't there, and you're great. Here's what I want. I want you to give me 30 seconds. And if you feel pretty good, do a minute. If that feels pretty good, do 2 minutes. Still feeling good, do 3. Do 5. Don't do more than 10. And if you ever, at some point you think you're done, just say, Ben, come get me, and I'll come get you." And then she crushed.
She crushed.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also now, and you're now a life coach, inspirational speaker.
Yeah, I do it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, it's just like, if you can run, you can walk. You don't know if you can walk, you can run. It's that kind of thing. Like, just baby steps.
Yeah. But it was fascinating to watch sort of the craft of it and comedians that went up and kind of owned the room.
Yeah.
And comedians that went up and struggled with the room.
Yeah.
And sort of who was connecting and who wasn't connecting.
Yeah.
And just seeing that play out in real time. That wasn't something that I had experienced sort of as the host facility of a comedy show before. Yeah. It was fascinating just to not be an audience member, that's been my only role ever, is to just be an audience member. But in this case, I'm going to sort of pay attention to what's going on now.
You have a vested interest in how this goes. Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying I loved it. I didn't care if somebody bombed. I didn't care if somebody killed. I just loved to see the dynamic of how they were sort of navigating their set and the crowd and what was happening. Yeah. It was a very weird crowd.
Yeah, it was very fun. Like, I thought since our show started at 9:30 and the one next door started at 9, that a person who goes up first would come over after their set and do it. So I was like, we'll be fine. And they all refused to leave the venue. And I'm like, well, fucking everybody that's here that's performing is like a national headliner. I'm not going to put them.
They opened.
Yeah, and they ended up I'm like, all right, well, I guess. That's what we're doing. All right, that's who's here. It's who's here at this point.
It was a good pivot. You had to call an audible in real time.
Yeah, and it was fine. And Shay's great and very reliable. So, yeah, I could probably even say the lineup at this point because it was secret. It was Dorian Foster. It was Shay Bell. It was Joe Giuffre. It was Corey Behringer. It was Mario Musavi. It was Willie Travis. It was Tony Kameen. It was Fat Joe. It was me. And then Lourdes Ione. It's all 11.
Yes, 11 on the 11th anniversary.
Ending at 11.
Took it to 11.
Yeah. This one goes to 11. I did it.
I failed in my marketing effort. This is where I'm not a marketing genius.
Okay.
On our 11th anniversary, why we didn't just be open from 11 to 11.
What time did you open?
12.
You idiot.
Seriously. I mean, I was kicking myself already for not having done that.
Well,
We would have had one more hour of fun.
Yeah. But then you'd be like one more hour tired from it.
I slept great.
Perfect. I wonder why. No way to know. Which leads me to my first question of the day. Wait, hold on first. Dave, happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're the oldest man alive. I think is the official record.
I'm older than I have ever been.
Holy shit. That's a wild stuff.
Personal record, that's for sure.
The oldest you've ever been.
Yeah.
So not the oldest ever, the ever oldest for you. Okay.
Yeah. In this vessel,
I've misunderstood.
it's a record.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're not ruling out reincarnation.
I plan to keep breaking this record.
Perfect. Yeah. Just as science advances, because like before, like 30 was unheard of.
Yeah.
So obviously, and that wasn't even that long ago. So maybe that's two incarnations ago. That's the oldest you could have gotten was 30.
Perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. Times weren't good before clean water and flushing toilets.
Yeah. Now, since we're already talking about reincarnation and age, what do you think they thought a year was in biblical times when they're like, this guy lived to be 340 years old? What do you think that meant then? Do you think it's months? What do you think? Do you think it's moon cycles? What do you think a year is in the Bible?
Have you ever read Cosmos by Carl Sagan?
No.
It's amazing book, and it's entertaining, but it also ties in how religion and largely the church had such a big role in the development of science in those early centuries. But largely the calendars were pretty well established by then, and so a year was a year. There's really no difference. I mean, they could tell by I don't know, sciencey shit that it had come around. Yeah. And so they did, that wasn't the big.
Wasn't up for debate. They're like, no, 340 years was 340 years.
Yeah.
Like, well, how did that happen? All right, great. So we've solved that.
But
Just, so we went from living 340 years to living 30 years.
I heard there used to be 13 months though.
That makes sense because it's easier. 4 weeks cycle. I don't know why we don't do that.
And then there was a 13th zodiac sign. Are you familiar with this?
No.
It was called Ophiuchus. It kind of looks like Ofuckus.
Yeah, right.
And it's a PH and a UC and all. It's weird spelling, and it's
2 C's. Yeah.
He's the snake wrangler, and it's this dude who just has a giant python that he's kind of riding a giant python in the sky, and the stars, whatever.
Yeah.
His constellation. And it's coming up. It would have been right about now through the end of the year,
right?
Where they would have the 13th month.
The final
that was the
4 weeks.
The Ophiuchus, and I'm probably butchering that pronunciation.
Yeah, that's how they got old Fezziwig. It was just the confusion.
Is that for real?
I have no idea. I've never heard of your thing until right now.
I might be completely making that up.
I
think it's true.
Yeah. No, it just makes more sense. Anyway, every once in a while, I will write down the wrong month numerically because our months are wrong because of June and July, So I'll be like, October, and I'll write 8/12. Like I'm writing a date, I'll put down 8 instead of 10 because I'm like, Oct, that's 8. And I'll be like, why is this wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
December.
Yeah.
Why is that 12?
Because of Julius Caesar being an egomaniac.
Oh.
Yeah.
Zuck, you mean?
Yeah. Old days Zuckerberg. Yeah. Just crazy people wanting to put their legacy on the entire world forever.
So it completely changed how time is told.
Yeah. He's like,
in the calendar.
I need a July for Julius and a June for shut up.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm in charge.
For Junius, a post-rock band out of Boston, Massachusetts. Martyrdom of a Catastrophist is a great record, kind of like what if The Cure did post-rock. Anyway.
Nice circle back.
I know. I'm very good at this. The point is, I haven't asked the question.
First question
and
coming
I think
up.
this one is going to be a more complex answer than I usually get, given what we know, what you've recently announced. But how's business here at New Helvetia?
Well, business is interesting, to say the least.
Yes.
So
11 years.
having just celebrated 11 years, one location, one spot, doing essentially the same thing from day one through year 11, at the corner of 18th and Broadway, brewing beer, packaging beer for bars and restaurants and grocery stores, and largely having a tap room. And that's sort of the main focus of our business, is the tap room. Recently adding a kitchen to add food service. And the truth of it is, it's tougher than it's ever been. We have, I think as a brewery, as a facility, as a business, we have all the pieces in place, but we're still finding it very difficult to succeed financially. And, I think part of that is, of course, we have to admit a failing on our own part in sort of not being able to afford and put out, proper marketing that can really get the word out about us. But we're not unknown, and we do have a reach that definitely should be supportive of a business of our size and location. But I think part of it is also our location. I think we're at this weird, not just location, but also location in time. We're in this weird spot in time on the development of the Broadway corridor, where it's making things very, very difficult for small businesses like ours and some of our neighbors as well. So it's not just us. We're not crying poor exclusively. We know that this is affecting
the entire
businesses,
street.
up and down. And also we got to admit that the just business in general is sort of experiencing this. Hospitality, bars, restaurants,
everybody,
all the breweries, everybody's kind of seeing this downturn, and how businesses choose to navigate that and the challenges that are happening right now is going to be completely unique to them. And the solution that and I say we because my team of employees and I have all come together and come up with a concept that I think is really cool in converting the ownership of the brewery into a cooperative. So if you're familiar with the Sac Foods Co-op, bigger ones being like REI that people might be members of. I'm trying to think of other co-ops that are pretty well known out there, but locally the Sac Food Co-op is probably the closest example that makes sense, that people can understand. And we would essentially transition to an employee and community-owned co-op, meaning I and my small team of early investors will no longer be in charge of New Helvetia Brewing Company. It will become New Helvetia Brewery Cooperative, and it will be owned by the crew here and whoever comes on board later, and the community that joins in on this adventure.
Yeah. So how does that work?
So, like I said, a great example to look at is the Sac Food Co-op, because they've been doing this for 50 years at least, and you basically you buy a membership, and then that membership gets you a voting right. You can run for board positions. Employees will be members as well. There's still a lot of rules of how that membership gets vested in employees, and sort of the nerdy, wonky, behind the scenes nuts and bolts of how the bylaws get written and the structure of the corporation, of the new co-op corporation, will largely be determined by the new members of the co-op. Okay. So I think that's cool. It's self-governance. It's democratic, and the members will ultimately be in charge of the direction of this brewery and what we started here 11 years ago. And I started this as a homage to Sacramento. I've actually written this before in probably a Facebook post or something about how New Helvetia was my love letter to Sacramento. It was, I wanted to bring back a piece of history in the Buffalo beer and the old Buffalo Brewing Company, which was this staple of Sacramento's business scene and sort of industrial capacity from the turn of the century. It started in 1890, went through Prohibition, grew to become one of the largest breweries west of the Mississippi, and distributed throughout the U.S. and most of the Pacific Rim. So pretty close to global distribution at a time when Sacramento had 40,000 people, perhaps, and no modern shipping of any kind. Maybe there was a steel steamer out there that was moving stuff, but they were throwing stuff into wooden casks and shipping it on railways and and whatever floated, I guess, at that time. and I thought that was a cool story that, Sacramento had this major brewery that, Prohibition ultimately killed it, but there were some other things that prevented it from really coming back after the repeal of Prohibition in 1934. The biggest thing was probably succession planning. The next generation of a family-owned brewery went on to do other things.
Yeah.
So there weren't the people in place to jump in and take the lead.
And then, of course, our hop farms also, since there was Prohibition, they discontinued that crop and started growing other things.
A lot of them, but there was still plenty that kept going and were easy to come back. Because those hop farms, they maintained through like the 60s and 70s up into the 80s in some locations. And that's one of the coolest features of, the Delta and all the riverlands around Sacramento is that there are all these hop farms. And, hop farms have to grow vertically. Yeah. And it's a cool sight when you see them.
Yeah.
It's very different, but we don't really have much of that going on around here anymore. There's the Roostaller Farm on 80 in Dixon, which when it was like kind of happening, it was really cool to see how those hops grew vertically. But yeah, it was a reminder to the old Buffalo Brewing Company that once upon a time Sacramento could accomplish big things. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't that be cool if somebody, eventually I decided that somebody should be me, brought back Buffalo beer. And the route to do that was through New Helvetia, and New Helvetia was a way to celebrate kind of Sacramento's unique history and character and flaws and successes and all the things that I think Sacramento sometimes fails to recognize about themselves that we've done right over the years. We've done some wrong over the years, but we've accomplished a lot. And Buffalo beer was kind of that like, look, we used to be almost a globally distributed beer city way back in the day. Yeah. Why couldn't that happen again?
Well, and then time has been very clear that, no, that age has passed for everyone.
Essentially true.
Yeah. Unfortunately. But I think, to me, it feels like you guys have kind of realized that also. I mean, like, we're just going to focus on the local stuff.
We got so much good to talk about in Sacramento. We got such a unique market here, I think.
Yeah.
Because we're the capital of California, but nobody thinks of Sacramento when they think of California. I mean, we could beat this dead horse about Sacramento's not, we're a valley town. We're not a coastal town.
Cowtown, Sacramento, whatever.
We're not LA. We're not the Bay Area. But
in comedy, Hackramento is
that cuts like a knife, man.
Yeah, it's pretty rude, especially when you're like, I went to a San Francisco open mic where everybody had a joke about brunch and riding the bus. I'm like, all of you are doing this. All of you. Not one of you failed to tell a joke like this. Also, one person told the best brunch joke I've ever heard. I'm like, why are we still? That's the best one. Why would you ever try to tell a brunch joke again?
Some people followed that.
Yeah, with more brunch jokes. I'm like, no, that's the best one. What are you doing? Just stop. You're not. If it's not better than the one we've already heard, why are you doing it? Yeah. Surely there's another topic to cover besides brunch and the bus.
Do Sacramento comics kind of do the same thing where they...
No, that's the thing. I think there's a lot more variety here as far as comedians are concerned. Yeah. A lot of different styles. And we, because of the fact that you may know this, Sacramento audiences are awful.
I did not know that.
Oh, we are reviled.
Other than what I experienced with our
our night we hosted. We are nationally reviled as a live entertainment city. Watch any comedian who goes on a late night show that had recently done Sacramento, they will tell you how bad it is. Talk to any bands and why they skip Sacramento. I've had a band threatened to fight the audience for being so passive. It's just, our reputation is terrible. And part of the reason why I do what I do is to we have so many talented people, but nobody cares. And I'm just like, if we can just get some people to realize that there's something going on here, is important.
And what's the fix for that? Do we...
You just got to keep doing
self-correct?
You just got to keep doing it. And here's the thing that gets lost to history. You know Dave Chappelle?
Yeah.
You know how he
heard of him.
Famously disappeared from the world for 10 years? And people are like, it's because he had a deal with Comedy Central he didn't like, and he left the deal, and he quit comedy, and he moved to Africa or whatever. What actually made him leave the United States was not the Comedy Central deal. What made him leave comedy for 8 years was Sacramento.
How can that be true?
He did a show at the Memorial Auditorium, and he was trying to do a stand-up, and people kept yelling out catchphrases from Chappelle's show. And he's like,
he has talked about that.
He's like,
I've heard
hey,
him talk about
thank
that.
you so much for enjoying the show, but that's my sketch show. This is my stand-up comedy. It's a different thing. I appreciate it, but please let me do my thing, and you just respond to that. I appreciate you watching the show, but please stop doing that. And so they keep doing it. And he's like, hey, you keep doing this. I'm going to stop doing stand-up. I'm just going to read a book. Maybe it's out loud. Maybe it's to myself, but I'm going to read a book if you guys keep doing this. And they just keep doing it. And he just opens a book, reads it for like 2 minutes, and walks off stage and quits comedy.
Oh my God, I did not know.
We were the straw that broke the camel's back. And
It's a dubious distinction.
yeah. And I always wonder how many, if you look at it, how many bands are from Sacramento that had to move somewhere else to make it because Sacramento doesn't support live music. I've seen a band 2 nights in a row. I've gone to see a band in San Francisco, and the place is packed, and we're bouncing off the walls. Everybody's just dripping sweat, just going fucking nuts for this band because it's a very high-energy band. Then I come see them in Sacramento at the Blue Lamp, which is a venue I really enjoyed because they always brought really interesting bands, even though their beer was often warm because they could never get the refrigeration right. I just really enjoyed that they always had cool bands. But I go to the same show, same energetic band. They have time, the drummer's jumping out of his seat while he's playing. There's just high energy, and everybody's standing there with their arms crossed. Song ends. Every song. And it's just
I am so disappointed in my hometown.
it's every show I've ever been to. It's just nobody wants they want to be a cool guy. They don't want everyone to be like, oh, I actually care about this band. Nobody wants to show that. It's so when we do comedy, it's people are they smile but they don't laugh. It's Jesus, just have an emotion. Just it's okay to be in the moment. It's okay.
Yeah, and I remember
to
on
do
our
it.
show, you tried to preface the audience.
Yeah,
you tried to prime them a little bit.
That joke
of
always works.
Just you're allowed to laugh
It's
out
fine.
loud.
It's
we
allowed.
respond to that.
Yeah, yeah. And I wrote that joke so many years ago because it helps sometimes, because again, our audiences suck, so they're often small, and it's they don't want to sit up front. So they're always there's a person 3 feet to your left, and then the next person's 22 feet away, and then there's another person 40 feet past that. I'm just come to the front, Jesus! It's more obvious that we should pick on you when you're far away because you have the option and you're refusing it. It's I have a joke about how we don't make fun of the front row in Sacramento because we all know those people are heroes and everybody else is cowards. They don't deserve it. They put themselves on the line of fire, so we're not going to shoot at them. It's just but yeah, it's the city's weird about passion, and I don't know what it comes from, but it's been going on, as far as I can tell, forever.
Yeah, it seemed to get animated for the Kings,
Yes,
but not for live performance.
right. That's different. Sports are always going to be a thing that drives people. That you're passionate about sports. That's just but just this idea that we have all these great art scenes. We have great painters and writers and musicians and all this stuff. And you're I'm a fan of the band. Then I go see them and I stand there, or I go to the coffee shop where they're displaying the art and I drink a coffee and I leave. What? It's just nobody wants to show that they're actually excited about something, and it's very strange. And I don't know what causes it, which I think is why I've been able to have all the connections I have because I actually show that I enjoy the things that I enjoy. So I'll always go talk to people and tell them I appreciate it. I used to sell merch for local bands because I'm you're busy. You guys are getting ready for the show. I'll take the merch table.
So when the comics are talking about how Sacramento has this vibe, this lack of energy.
Yeah.
What are the other cities that they compare us to that also have that sort of negative?
I don't know. I went to Chicago for a week and a half, 8 years ago, and here I'm maybe a top 70 comic, and Chicago is considered one of the best 5 cities in America for comedy. I went there and I'm I could run this city. I went there for a week and a half and I never told the same joke twice, and I crushed everywhere I went. I went to a show where nobody was doing well. I did a 10-minute set, And like people are like, "Can I buy you a drink?" They're giving me high fives. Like it's like just like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I have another show to get to," you know. Like, but like they're like, "What do you think this is what comedy could be?" It was like, this is not even my best stuff. Like, and this is a city that's known for comedy. It's just so weird because I can go to San Francisco and I can murder. I come here, I bomb my dick off everywhere I go, and I go anywhere else, and it's just I crush. Like there's people who have like. You know, they've been on Comedy Central, they've been on Vice, and I go do a set for them, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, and I'm like, it's so weird. There's nothing I can compare it to because it's just like no one here cares, and it's just really frustrating. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a co-op.
Oh, you said we could talk about anything,
right? It's true. It's true. And but yeah, it's just I think that also comes down to this stuff. You know, it's just. Nobody wants to tell you what they like. They're like, here's a picture of a beer I'm enjoying. But they don't want to say how great they are. They don't want to talk about the people that are there or why you should care. Like, this beer tastes good. It's like, yeah, most beer tastes good if you like beer. What else is there? You know? And so that's, I think, also part of why I do this. Is that it's for me, I like it as a historical marker, keeping track of what's going on. And people getting to tell their stories because most beer podcasts are like, how did you make this beer? I'm like, fucking the same way they make every other beer. It's just the different levels. What new technology? There's a million podcasts that tell you what the new technology is. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't care. I do care, but I don't care enough to make it a focus.
Yeah, there's gadgets, but beer is made the same way it has been for centuries.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like I listened to one and it's like, these are all professionals allegedly, right? That they only focus on beer making. And I listened to a guy say, "Oh, you made a saison. That's like 4%." And they're like, "No, saisons are like 7 or 8%." And he's like, "No, they're like a lighter beer." I'm like, "Oh my god, aren't you a professional? Shouldn't you know that a saison is 7 to 8%?" I know that. I'm not a professional. Like, I was like, "How am I supposed to take you seriously at this point?" Like, but that's like a major podcast, and so I'm just like, there's enough people out there doing that. I don't need to do that. So I do this. Which is where I just talk to people.
You do this well
about what we're doing.
I think the comedy thing and the Sacramento audience. There's probably some crossover in the Sacramento beer audience as well, because you'll see some different cities that have, we definitely have a very vibrant brewery scene here, and
I think people are proud of it.
Yeah. But it's odd how that's shown and supported in Sacramento compared to other places.
Yeah.
The Bay Area, which is sort of, in some ways, they fell behind Sacramento on the beer scene. They've now come roaring back and are obviously have
popping up a lot
great
more.
Breweries, putting out great product, have a great scene and a great vibe, but a population that really wants to and seems to like get after it and support it. And I see that. I used to live in Portland. I'm in San Diego several times a year. Denver several times, or GABF every couple of years. You see sort of the difference in the beer market. And I don't want to like rip on our hometown market, but we experience it as business owners. We experience how sort of the consumer side of our beer fandom is different from other cities.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in everything. In anything that is a creative pursuit, Sacramento shows up weird.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, keep Sacramento weird. I don't want this weird way of showing up for the things that are cool.
Yeah. And then you see it on like there's the online Facebook groups and forums that kind of are focused on Sacramento area craft beer, and there's just a lot of negativity on there, and that doesn't seem to exist in other markets in the same way that it does here. It's like you feel better about yourself by ripping somebody else down, and I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's like you take a picture and it's like, but you don't do anything to like vouch for the people behind it.
Yeah.
It's just like this like very passive way of experiencing it. It's like crossing your arms. Like, yeah, I was there, but you didn't do anything while you were there. You drank your beer and you left. Like you didn't do anything to push that business forward.
Yeah.
Besides mentioning that you had a beer.
But we're out here.
Right.
You're out there doing comedy. We're out here doing beer. There's a bunch of us.
Yeah.
There's many of us out here like putting the creativity out there for the public to enjoy.
Yeah. It's okay to tell people about things you enjoy. Like I find, like my Facebook is scattershot. But like if I post about a band I'm really enjoying, there's no traction on it at all. Nothing. I get nothing back. I'm like, this is like a really cool song I just found, and nobody cares because it's my friends are all Sacramento people, and it's just like, if you tell somebody something you care about, nothing. You put something negative, tons of stuff. It's just a really weird space to be in.
Yeah.
And I think that's affecting businesses because businesses, if the restaurant across the street, they're making food. That's an art. I know there's a science to it, it's like beer, but there's an art to it. There's a heart that you put into it, and people are just so passive about that aspect of it here. And I don't know why, if it's like the small man syndrome.
Are we a Yelp city? Is it like we've just been...
Well, we've been like that
the religion of Yelp? We've just
No, it's
constantly...
been like that since, like, if I talk to people who've been here since the 80s, like, it's been like this forever. Like, it's just always been like this. So, I don't know if it's like the small man syndrome showing that you're so big you don't care anymore. Like, we're the capital.
That's an interesting content.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I wasn't born here.
I was, and that sort of exists.
Yeah.
That's probably, it's probably a factor in that behavior.
Yeah.
Is that we've always been sort of the lesser of the California cities.
Yeah. So you're not viewed as cool. So you're like, no, I'm too cool.
I'm too cool.
I'm too cool for it,
and
actually.
I don't have to care.
I'm not uncool. I'm too cool.
Yeah, I got real shit to deal with.
Yeah. I think that might actually be the best way to summarize it. People say you're uncool. You're like, no, I'm too cool. So I won't react to anything that's happening because I'm too cool for that.
There's got to be somebody smart out there who can do a social science study on this.
I mean, me and Johnny Flores almost started a podcast going through like music history in Sacramento. Then I bought a house and had a baby, and it's just time didn't exist anymore for that. But I wanted to reach out to like people who've moved away and been like, why did you decide that this was not the city for you to pursue? I mean, I know the answer, but like, in your own words, is there something about it? And kind of figure out what that thread is. But that's a project for another day.
This is fun for me, by the way.
I know.
I can talk about brewery and New Helvetia and Sacramento history and the co-op concept all you want, but this is more fun.
I mean, I do want to get to it because I do think, just as a person in the public, the question is, if you're a co-op and you're starting out, how does the day-to-day stuff get decided? Like, is that something you shut down for like a week while you guys get the bylaws together and be like, okay, this is the person we trust to make decisions, or we vote on all these decisions and then we come back?
Yeah, not every decision obviously can be voted on
Right.
by the membership.
That's an impossibility.
So there'll be a governing board of directors, which is largely made up of the employees, as I understand it. And so the employees who are in the trenches day to day, already essentially operating the business, will be also making most of those day-to-day decisions on whatever happens throughout the course of regularly operating a business. Conjugate correctly.
Yeah.
My editor just gave me the side eye.
Yeah.
And but then also things will have to happen, like hiring of staff, like and staff will of course have the option to become members or earn in membership. That has yet to be determined yet, but I think that's cool also, is that the members will decide how all of this plays out. But somebody in the role of a general manager who kind of is considered, like the GM of a sports franchise. They don't own it. They don't have.
Right.
They're a part of it, and they're expected to perform and make decisions. We'll have sort of the same thing here, and then you have to have all the other, specialty positions that just keep a business operating, and now creating a new one that is managing memberships and making sure the members are that the member that the co-op is adhering to bylaws and state laws and IRS rules and all the things, all the boring behind the scenes shit that nobody wants to think about has to still be managed and maintained. Meanwhile, we still have to make beer and run a tap room and package beer and sell it and host events and be fabulous above and beyond what any other brewery is potentially doing, because now we are beholden to the member public who owns us. So it doesn't it's not like a quick fix for anything. It's actually creating a lot of other complexities, I think, that need to be hashed out and solved as we make this transition into a co-op. But I think it also it's probably the right move for New Helvetia, since we've always just been this, love letter to Sacramento type brewery, and how we've, I think, tried to conduct ourselves as a business, and in the causes that we've supported, and just being a member of the community. And I think for example, we've for several years in a row we did a beer with Fairy Tale Town. If you're familiar with Sacramento, you're probably familiar with Fairy Tale Town in William Land Park. It's a storybook themed miniature amusement park for small children, essentially.
So it's target market for beer.
future beers. Their parents, absolutely. But just that sort of community connection where we did a beer project with them that was a complete donation. The proceeds went to them, and there was maybe a little excess left over that we were able to sell to make up our costs, but it wasn't a moneymaker. It was more a philanthropic endeavor and community partnership. We've done that with the zoo. We've done that with the Front Street Animal Shelter, with Capital Public Radio. There's a list of local organizations that we've been a part of supporting and helping, and really it's all and it's all like hyper Sacramento,
right?
And that's, I think, where our vibe and our ethos is like we're not a Sacramento brewery. I think we are trying to be the Sacramento brewery that is about Sacramento. There are bigger breweries making more beer, making fabulous beer, have great marketing and great people behind the scenes. And I'm honestly, I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm fans of my neighboring breweries around me. They're
I mean, how can you not be?
We are making some of the best beer in the world.
Yeah, with like very few people who are legit dicks, and then we've had them and they've left.
All within like 5 miles of here too. By the way, like we have just this amazing scene of care and quality and passion and community,
and always giving back, always supporting.
Yeah. And by the way, every brewery is supporting the community in some way. Every single brewery is doing something along those lines. So we're not unique in that regard, but I do think we're unique in how hyper focused we are on the Sacramento, kind of like elevating Sacramento is kind of our goal. And the co-op really is legitimizing that and making it into something that the community now will, they'll own, they'll support, they'll be able to have opportunities to get active in those roles that we're doing out in the community. So our new member owners, co-op member owners will, lead that charge now. And I think that's sort of a cool, unique way to do it. There are very few co-op breweries in the U.S.
Yeah, and New Belgium comes to mind. So it must be the new thing.
There's some nerdy distinguishing factors,
right, because they're just employee owned.
So that's called an ESOP. Employee stock option plan. So they're still,
they're not open to the public like that.
What is it called? Some like financial company owns half of it, and then the ESOP, the employees own the other half. I know Modern Times went down that road. Like the true co-op owned breweries that are, there's not many of them. There's Flying Bike in Seattle and Black Star in Austin, Texas, and there's a handful of them, and they're, it's a more difficult way to operate a business because you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and you have to have the structure in place and the bylaws and the board and all of that has to happen. But then you also have that larger pool of support.
Yeah, it's okay. So I've been in my head while we're talking. I'm not listening to you at all. I'm just thinking, and so I know that you have very limited space on how you can advertise and put signage on this building because it's a finite building. But I feel like if you're going to do a co-op that's very Sacramento focused, and with the staff that you have that helps make your labels and works the bar and all their skill sets, here's what I was thinking. Just pitching it out there. It's going to be out there. You can do what you want with
Let's
it.
hear it.
New Helvetia Brewing and Community Craft Co-op.
What does that mean?
What it means is that this is a place where you have your brewery, but it's also a place for community and craft. So you can learn crafts because we've got great artists on staff. They can help with that stuff. It's like a place to bring your family and learn new skill sets well around this same brewery atmosphere and make it more of a community space as opposed to just a drinking space.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a long name.
It's a what?
It's a really long
That's why
name.
I prefaced it with like, I know you don't have the space for this.
Yes.
But
when you see
I mean, look,
elementary school papers
get rid
where
of the word brewing, but I'm like, well, that's going to be a little bit tougher. So
honestly, why not?
Right.
Just New Helvetia Co-op.
Yeah. Craft
then-
co-op.
Well, just New Helvetia Co-op, and we can define the community and the craft and the beer part
Within
of it.
that.
Have it be assumed or
Right.
inherit to the name. So
Right.
New Helvetia Co-op just becomes a Sacramento-based cooperative
Catch-
that beer is probably our main business, but we actually are going to have a push into education and volunteer opportunities and
Which, yes, good question. Okay.
just other things that are really bringing all of the community aspect to it, giving it more life and vibrancy and action. So the community part of it, you're a member of a co-op, but we'll partner with other nonprofits or activism or I don't know. I'm trying to think of a generic one, like a river cleanup. We're surrounded by rivers, and that has to happen a couple times a year. There's always the park cleanups, but let's focus on things that are a little more universally loved in Sacramento than one or two neighborhood parks.
Yeah. Which leads me to this question that I forgot to ask. Co-op, when you're a member of the co-op over there, you're supposed to work a certain amount of shifts. Is that going to be part of the process here?
No, there's no
Demand for labor?
There's no demand for labor. Yeah. I think there'll be volunteer opportunities
Yeah,
that are
like you
more
said,
in the
for
community,
those community
but employees
projects.
will be employees. There's I don't think there's a way around, and we're not trying to
Right.
have free labor.
Right.
In
and
fact,
you also
we want
have, everyone has to be safety certified.
Yeah, and we want to make sure that one of the aspects of this is a living wage and making sure that employees are well taken care of, and that we have all the tools in place so that employees are safe, happy, healthy, and want to love and be here. And as a brewery in our current status, we're struggling with that. We're not able to afford some of the perks and the benefits that really we need to have in place to keep people. People love being here, but quite honestly, they could do better elsewhere. And I know that.
Yeah.
And I know that. And I know that, just having that community mindset already is probably why we are in this position to convert it to a co-op, and why the current employees and crew are so on board for doing this.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about this, not on the podcast, I don't think too much or at all. Just this idea that if you want to be a positive aspect in your community, if you want to make change in the world, you have to struggle financially to do that. Because you're like, well, if you really care, you do it for nothing, And so they take advantage of that, and you kind of have to, because there's no way to make a positive change and make money. It's just the world's set up to kind of screw you on that.
Yeah.
And it's a very weird thing, because people get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be like, hey, we're going to destroy the wetlands. We're just going to wipe them out. And they're like, oh, we'll give you $450,000 to do that. We're going to save the wetlands. You can have a sandwich. When you come out here, we'll give you water.
Ben Rice, are you suggesting that the deck is stacked against?
I don't know if I'm saying that. I'm saying, yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Progress.
And wouldn't it be nice if it's just, you didn't have to worry about the cost of healthcare for your employees because it was just covered nationally? Wouldn't that be just a beautiful, easy thing for all employers, that maybe then you don't have to make so much profit in order to pay for the basic things so your employees can survive and come to work the next day?
Which, by the way, has always baffled me, why business groups haven't been more interested in supporting some sort of universal health care.
It never makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense to me as a small business
Because you
owner.
complain about the cost you have to pay for it, and you complain that you can't afford it for your employees. Fun fact, when you're buying health insurance, you're paying a premium, and it's almost equal to what it would be to just nationalize it.
Yeah, and there's a whole...
Because the premium is based on what it would generally cost the nation to have this care.
So,
what are we fucking doing? The math is out there. We pay the most for the worst healthcare. We can't do worse. Also, you're like, oh, it's so expensive. It'll be so expensive. Here's the thing. When it's nationalized, you can start setting prices, because the prices are they're made up out of thin air. Mm-hmm. You can go get an x-ray at one spot and it's $300. You can go somewhere else and it's $2,000.
Right. If
you nationalize it, it's this is the cost of this care.
Yeah.
And you save money from that. It's asinine. This is a great podcast, I think.
We're going to touch everything. Everything. Have we talked about space and rocket ships yet?
Well, I mean, that's the next frontier, obviously. We've got our mystery airship series. Look at me tying it all in. Very good. Which I think, I know what that means, but the listeners, I mean, we've talked about it in past episodes, but maybe you should tell them what mystery airship is.
So mystery airship is our anniversary series of beer. Our anniversary, we decided would be Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So as of this recording, that was just about a week ago.
Yeah.
And the history behind that is one of the very first widely publicized UFO sightings was in Sacramento. And it was in...
and no one cared.
That's, when you hear this, that's probably going to prove to be true. So the story goes, it's November of 1896, and it's nighttime, and there's a craft floating above Sacramento with lights. And the residents of Sacramento, and this is mostly kind of downtown, I'm guessing kind of around the Capitol and K Street, because one of the historic depictions of it shows the cathedral spire at the Cathedral of the Blessed Sacrament on K Street.
Okay.
And the descriptions are there was a craft with lights and people aboard enjoying merriment, clanking drinks, and having a jolly old time. So the people on the ground were probably so hammered, they thought that the people in the sky must have also been hammered and were just throwing a party in their spaceship or hot air balloon or dirigible or whatever the heck it was. Right. But it was also reported that law enforcement and some of the state elected officials, harbingers of trustworthiness amongst all,
cannot be impugned,
were witnesses to this event and quoted in the news story. So I think that's kind of interesting that Sacramento had this mystery airship sighting in 1896. And so we decided to name our also November release occurrence of our mystery airship at our anniversary party. And so far that series has garnered us a couple GABF awards.
Yeah.
They're
great beers.
Great beers.
I love them. That Ginger Elizabeth spicy, oh my God.
Such a fantastic beer.
It's one of my favorite beers.
Yeah.
Like anywhere.
Mexican hot chocolate porter. God. Oh, it's a good one. I'm sending you home with one, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love it every time. I'll take the whole batch. All right, we've gone too long. I mean, old school Barley and me, we're going short, but new school Barley and me, one who has no time for this shit, we've gone too long. Because
the alternative is parenting.
Yeah. I am baby free today though. So.
Okay.
So I stayed up till 4 a.m. like an adult would do. We're stupid. All right. Let's see. So co-op.
So the co-op, let me just give you an update on the process.
I did one. Yes, go.
We only just announced it last week.
Right.
We're at about 300 registrants on our sign up list.
Okay, cool.
So we haven't sold a single membership.
Right. You have to get
we're just taking names and we're going through the legal process to create the co-op entity. And once that happens, then we can actually start bringing over selling actual memberships and formulating the final version of the co-op. And it will be a worker and community-led effort. I'm not in charge of this. Mm-hmm. I'm promoting the heck out of this, but I am not in charge of this.
Right. But you're the face of the franchise.
Well, I'm the face of the current brewery, and I'm hopeful that if I get hired back, that I can continue to do some good in the community. But I have to understand and accept that I don't have that control, or I won't have that control once this all takes place. Yeah. And by the way, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I want this to fulfill its greatest good potential of being a true Sacramento-owned brewery, essentially owned by Sacramento. And I think that's the coolest thing. We'd be the Green Bay Packers of Sacramento breweries. Of the brewery owned by the community. I think that's unique, and I'm excited about this.
So it's $300, right?
It's $300 lifetime membership.
Lifetime, okay.
Lifetime.
That's the next question.
But just like the Sac Food Co-op, there's sort of an expectation. I don't know if it's an obligation or how they word it, but but it's patronage. They the members are expected to
Come in here once in a while and
consume,
Yeah.
and be part of the financial support ongoing of the business.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're a member only
Right.
brewery. It's still open to the larger community.
they got to
And
pay more to be here, though.
if they're not a member, they don't get the member perks.
Yeah.
And the members get discounts on just about everything, and early access, exclusive access, or all the fun stuff that breweries are doing now in their membership clubs will be similar to what happens as the co-op member. But the other perk is you're an owner,
Right.
And at some point in the future, we're not really promoting this as a selling point because
Right.
you don't know what the finances are going to be, but there could be that potential for a dividend.
Profit share.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the
you,
idea.
You might make your money back. And then can you sell the membership if you decide you're out?
Basically it's you buy in $300, you can sell it out for $300.
Okay, so you can't make profit on it. You can't be like,
It's not
$500.
it doesn't appreciate now.
Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So all those people are like, I'm going to buy it now, and I'll sell it when it's going.
Ben, the key word here is equity. It's an equitable transaction.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that are like, I'm going to buy. Can you buy multiple shares?
You can, but you still only get one vote.
Perfect.
Yeah. It
Thought of
doesn't give you more control.
Perfect.
So you can invest more money
And it's like,
depending on
thank
how
you.
the bylaws and everything are
I
written.
appreciate it
Yeah.
for our operating
Yeah.
expenses.
And then, maybe that's set up separately, and this is nerdy finance talk,
Right.
of course. If you're a preferred shareholder, you probably you get sort of first crack at a return down the road versus the common or co-op regular members, voting members. You don't until all the other obligations have been met. You're sort of last in line. But yeah, that's sort of it. It's
Okay.
like you can give more, but you don't get any more
Anything-
control for
Yeah.
that.
Right. And I think that's an important question. So I was like, I feel like there's questions that are still unanswered. And I think that's like an important.
The question I keep getting is who's going to be in charge?
And it's like, that's to be determined.
And I go,
There's
well,
gonna be a
the
board.
board will be in charge.
board will
Well,
be in
but who's
charge.
going to be the person making all the decisions? Well,
The day-to-day stuff that will be figured out by
the board. And
And they'll
if they assign it to a general manager, it's kind of the executive director of a nonprofit, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're kind of doing that daily decision-making part of the business.
Right.
But
When it's a big
ultimately, the
decision-
board is going to be the one in charge of all the major decisions.
Yeah.
And
But
then
like,
major like financial decisions, lending, selling, buying.
Yeah, getting new equipment, selling
That's
equipment.
the entirety of the membership.
Right.
And also voting on the board members is the entirety of the membership.
Yeah. Or like if you're going to completely shift your marketing procedures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, and you're doing a Q&A tomorrow,
We're going to do a Q&A here
which
at
is
the brewery.
yesterday for those listening. Very helpful. So you heard it here second, but it was said
was
first.
first.
It was said first. Exclusive. Barley and Me
This
exclusive.
is like a time traveling episode.
I'm just going to go ahead and edit this today, get it out. That way I can be like, first, no need to go. No, don't support them. Don't buy beers. That seems
Edit it today, but still don't release it till Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Because I want you want people in the door, and we all know if it goes on Barley and Me, that's worldwide. It's definitely not 32 people.
I mean, it's like the Colbert bump, right?
Yeah. It definitely is not just like 12 people, and then somebody finds it months down the road. Definitely not that. Especially not other brewers you've already talked to about this exact stuff. By the way, thank you for listening. Anybody who's listening, appreciate you. Feel free to ever share it. It's allowed. I know we're in Sacramento and it's not cool, but you can totally mention that you listen to this podcast
Out loud.
Someone.
You can say it out loud.
You can very loudly greet me if you see me at a bar. You can just be, oh my God, it's Ben Rice from the Barley and Me podcast. You guys, you know this guy, he runs a comedy show. You can just do that. It's allowed. And there's one person who does it, and it's Kenny Hotchkiss. Kenny Hotchkiss will always yell it out. But I feel like it's facetious.
No, not from Kenny.
But you're allowed to do it. Anyway, Dave, it's your birthday. You need to like nap up for all the old man stuff you're going to do later.
Yeah.
And I did say it would be fast, and we're going real slow.
That's okay. I'm feeling like I need some pudding.
Okay.
Some pudding and some...
just gum it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oatmeal.
Yeah. Beautiful party.
It's going to be a real sleeper.
Yeah.
Which is how I roll these days.
Yeah, man, it's like, what do you want for birthday? I didn't know, when you're a kid, you're like, why would it's so hacky to get your dad a tie or socks or whatever. And then I'm like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I don't fucking shirts. Like, I don't know. I'm like, here's the thing. We have, when you're a kid, you don't have a job. Like, you're like, oh my God, gifts.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, you're like, if I need something, I can just go buy it.
With kids now, I can tell you, they don't do that anymore. They don't care about buying their dad or mom or other people gifts. They don't even know.
Yeah, they barely acknowledge that.
Like they'll send a emoji on a text, and that's your happy birthday card.
Oh yeah, that's what I get from my mom all the time. We do voicemails with we sing happy birthday on voicemails. It's a long time, but like it's like I personally would rather have a conversation, but I'm like, I know this is what we do, and nobody answers their phone on their birthday, and we all it's like, you see like, a family member, you're like, they're gonna leave a message, and it's gonna
let that go to voicemail.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, but
we'll hear it later.
You can talk to me. It's okay. But
you also know how it's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I'm going to call you back.
Probably heard that one before.
Yeah. So I'm going to call you back and leave you a voicemail. Like, all right. But, yeah. But I'm like, yeah. It's like my girlfriend's like, what do you want for your, I'm like, just shirts. I think I asked, like, last time I was like, pants. Like, it's, because I forget to buy that for myself, you know? I'm like, oh yeah, you know what?
The staples.
I've lost 60 pounds since COVID started, so I'm like, oh yeah, I could use shirts that fit properly. Don't hang off me.
You look like you started a workout routine.
I didn't.
You should like
my workout routine is throwing around my giant ass baby. She's a 99.8th percentile height and weight. Okay. Massive fucking baby. So I just and she wants to be off the ground at all times. So it's just
you're just lifting,
twisting,
constantly.
spinning. Yeah, it's a workout.
That is a good workout.
Respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like 6 hours a day. I'm really putting in the work, but no actual gym work, no running. And boy, I had to walk San Francisco hills last night, and that was a reminder that I don't do that. I went up one street, I'm like, whoa. My thighs might collapse on my. But okay, the point is I'm leaving. That's what we're doing.
Another long outro, because
always Ben Rice special. Don't know how to say goodbye. Anything else we need to know about this co-op, about New Helvetia, things you haven't mentioned, things you think are important to know?
Well, right now it's only informational, and we're only taking signups. We're not actually selling the membership. Right. So at this point in time, you can go to the newhelvetiabrew.com website and look for the co-op membership button, and that'll give you all the information you need to know to sign up and get on our list for when we do launch the actual membership, when we open actual memberships for sale and bring members in to join. So that's probably, hopefully we're only a short week or two away, but that's a process that honestly the crew that's putting it together on the employee side here is in charge of. And
and there's also all the red tape.
Yep, we'll get there when we get there.
Yep. And if there's anything we know about government and bylaws and all that,
they're easy to work with.
Easy to work
and
with. Quick, cheap, accurate.
Yeah, they smile. They're exuberant.
Yeah.
Unlike the typical Sacramento audience.
Yeah, and they will absolutely tell you everything that's wrong with your idea immediately instead of one at a time and start over and be like, by the way, this was also a problem that we didn't tell you about. And this was also
but then they'll also offer help on how to solve that, correct?
Yes.
Every time.
Yeah, correct. And there's not an additional charge for each attempt.
Nope.
And it's like a bullet.
Nope, it's why we are the best city to do business in California.
Yep. And that's coming from me, specifically me. All those words I was talking the whole time. I know it sounded like Dave for a second there, but it was just me, just a person in the public making those statements based on my observations when I'm walking by work sites. And it's not anything I've heard from business owners or people who've attempted stuff. It's just my observations out in the world. Could be true, could be false, I could just be misunderstanding the situation, because I'm an outsider looking in for a couple seconds over and over again.
So once all the legal stuff is done and we can open up memberships, we will.
Yeah. And if we can't,
and you find out about that by signing up on the sign up list on the website, and we'll get you all the information and a chance to become a member of the New Helvetia Co-op. You'll be a founding member. Probably include a beer with it.
Yeah, maybe even like a crowler. Nobody wants growlers anymore.
They kind of gone away, haven't they?
Yeah, all that push to get them legalized, and then they're like,
then they wanted them to like fill them at gas stations.
Yeah, yeah. It's like put tape over them, and then like, oh, now that we've done that, there's this thing called a crowler. Way cooler.
Yeah, you got to buy a $5,000 seaming machine.
Yeah,
but it's better.
But it's better.
better.
And everybody likes it better. It feels cooler.
It lasts about a week longer than a growler.
Yeah, and you don't have to remember to bring it with you and wash it out, and then have them wash it out, and then they tell you didn't wash it out properly.
Yeah.
And
Please don't bring your growler back. We don't want it.
Yeah. Just crack that top off, but keep it there, and then so we can reseam it.
But fun fact, we are still filling growlers. If you got an old glass growler, bring it in. We will fill it happily.
Yeah.
Most of the breweries still do.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
still
thing.
do. It's like we're ready for it. But
It's
we
a
know
fun thing to take to a holiday party.
It is, and it's like an old throwback. Oh yeah, a bottle share, and somebody shows up the growler freshly filled.
Yeah, it's got to be consumed right then and there.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's not. We're sharing a 12-ounce bottle. We're
This
sharing
is-
64 ounces.
Ben Rice, we just solved the folded arms at the comedy show problem.
What's that?
Everybody has to bring a growler.
Oh yeah, Edward 64 hands.
And you're drinking that growler and you're hooting it up and having the best time of your life.
That's what I say.
Music, comedy, all the art shows.
Yeah,
Hey, you have to have a growler in hand.
you got to have a little bit of inhibition down.
Open container laws be damned.
Yeah, if we're gonna do art walk, it should be a boozy art walk.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what's in that
Art stagger.
that Stanley. You know.
Yeah, it's true. I've managed to not go back to my old habits, but when I was younger, dog parks with a coffee mug, absolutely.
You know, one of the benefits of working in a brewery is that a brewery that cans, you end up with a lot of short fills.
Yeah,
Short fills that don't get labeled, and
could be anything.
nobody knows what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Could be an energy drink.
could be water.
In fact, it is an energy drink.
Yes,
Officially, it's an energy drink.
perfect. All right, the point is, all right, newhelvetiabrew.com. New Helvetia Brew on Instagram. You can follow Barley and Me across social media, Barley and Me Pod. Go to barleyandmepod.com for all of my shows that I'm performing at, all the shows that I'm running, all the podcast episodes, so many things. Don't forget to check out my recent appearance on the Roach Coach podcast. It's a new metal podcast. We broke down the 2000 album Apartment 26, Hallucinating. It's Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath's Sons band. I had a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite podcasts. If you ever experience new metal at any point in time, it's great. It's 3 improvisers out of Detroit. They're a blast. They're a hoot. One of their members just left because she had a baby and wanted to spend time with her baby. So they have guest hosts, and I did one, and it was a blast. I think I don't know, shows. I have them. Mike Kaplan at the Sophia, December 23rd. Get tickets. It's Mike Kaplan, Keith Lowell Jensen, and Becky Lynn. December 16th, Crooked Lane, Comedy Night at Crooked Lane comes back for its 7th season. We've got Insane Wayne, who is a comedian in a wheelchair. You can't. He's one of the best. There's an energy in that can't be topped. Anytime I see him on a show, I'm like, well, I guess everyone else is going to eat a bag because this guy's going to level everybody. Along with him is Mr. Tay and Cookie Williams. It's a great lineup. Those are the ticketed shows that I can remember I have. Art Mix, December 28th. Happy Humbugs. Me and Eben here at New Helvetia, we worked on some comedy stuff for that. So that'll be fun. Kevin Kamiya, Meryl Davis, Shaman Jahal, Mario Musavi, me, an unnamed guest that we're finalizing. It'll be fun.
And our friends at Art Mix and
Yeah.
Eben is also bringing in Be Brave, Bold Robot
Yeah.
this month, right?
Yeah, it makes sense for the also no big deal. Happy Humbug's my idea for a name. But yeah, me and him have been working together for a few months on whenever they want to bring comedy, and it's been a lot of fun with that. And it felt really good to get that recognition as somebody that was worth reaching out to help with that, because I know they had hit and miss, or in not as much variety in acts as they would have liked to have had. So anyway,
You're good people, Ben Rice. You hang out with good people.
yeah,
You do good things.
All right, this is episode whatever number it is of Barley and Me. Dave Gull, New Helvetia Brewing,
Thank you so
New
much.
Helvetia Co-Operative, but maybe you won't be part of that, so that maybe not. Thank you so much.
Glad to do it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And for the listeners at home, thanks so much for listening. Get home safe.